Filipino-American basketball sensation Jalen Green making his regular season debut in the NBA. Green was one of the starters for the Houston Rockets in their season opener against the Minnesota Timberwolves this morning. Expectations are really high for Green, who was drafted second overall by the Rockets in July. In the preseason, the 19-year-old averaged 13 points a game, shooting 23% from the arc and 34% overall. And now joining us for an all-out discussion on the NBA is sportswriter Josh Planos, and he joins us all the way from Nebraska in the United States. Josh, welcome back to the show, man. Here we go. NBA season is upon us. Good evening.
Andre, I'm honored to be back here with you and the CNN team to begin another NBA season. And thank you, as always, for having me.
Oh, as always, we love having you on the show because you know your stuff. And let's get to our stuff right now. Okay, let's start with the item I was saying earlier. Jalen Green, of course, second number all pick in the draft, just made his debut for the Rockets. The game is still ongoing as we speak, and so far the Wolves are blowing out the Rockets here. What do you think of Jalen Green so far?
Well, he hasn't shot the ball great tonight, but I think we'll give him a break since it's his NBA debut and he's only 19 years old. What's great from him for a marketability perspective is how much the U.S. glorifies and promotes athletic scorers. You know, it'd be one thing if he was just a glue guy or someone who didn't fill up the box score, but on a team that doesn't have any postseason expectations, he'll have free reign to learn and score as much as he can. And that will, of course, lead to endorsements and all kinds of media coverage if he explodes the way we expect him to.
Of course, he has a lot of Filipino fans. He has some Filipino blood in him. And when we spoke about Jalen Green when he played for the Rockets in the Summer League earlier this year, and how he's someone who can bring a lot of pride to the country, a legit player to watch out for. Tell us more about what else can we expect from Green as the season progresses. Of course, there will be some growing pains along the way, but what is there to expect from Jalen Green as he moves on with starts his NBA career with the Houston Rockets?
Well, he's been given the keys to the franchise, Andre, and there's really nothing more you could want as a young guy coming into the league. Him and Kevin Porter Jr. are the backcourt of the future in Houston. Everything is kind of built around them and Christian Wood down low. And if we're to believe Stephen Silas, Green is ready to make an immediate impact on this team and on the city. Silas said he's never seen an athlete quite like him, and that explosiveness, that scoring ability, make him a must-watch NBA player moving forward.
Is there someone that you can compare him to? Like, who does he remind you of when you look at how Green plays and what he, his impact for the Rockets?
I see him like a young Tracy McGrady.
He's got that length. T-Mac. Yep.
He can
athletic,
jump out of the arena. He can score.
And really young and still raw and still a lot to learn. And ironically, T-Mac also did play for the Rockets back in the day. And Houston is down 113-82 as we speak right now in the fourth quarter. Okay, the Rockets are part of that wild west, and it just keeps on getting tougher and tougher and tougher every year, where there are just too many top-tier teams, including two that faced off yesterday. What an opening day. The LA Lakers against the Golden State Warriors. The Dubs did end up stunning the Lake Show at the Staples Center. And even before the season began, odds makers were already saying, Josh, that the Warriors are in the top 5 favorites to win the championship this season. And they finished 9th in the West last season. Why do you think that is? Still without Klay Thompson. He is expected to be back anytime during this season. And do you believe that the Dubs can go back to form and could be a major threat this time around this year?
Yeah, championship odds at this stage in the season are typically a reflection of fan interest more than anything else.
Yeah.
But the Warriors are that good, and they have that kind of ceiling if they get the Klay Thompson that we remember back in the fold. Of course, that remains to be seen. Sounds like it'll probably be closer to the new year that he's back in the starting lineup and back available for Steve Kerr. But it is asking a lot of Steph Curry for them to consider themselves contenders. But Steph Curry is that good. And if he stays healthy and if they get Klay Thompson back and Jordan Poole plays the way he did last night, where he looked like he could win Sixth Man of the Year this season, there's no reason to doubt the Warriors moving forward.
Well, Jordan Poole also playing great to start. Well, hopefully this will be a breakout year for him. And yeah, Steph is just enjoying out there, man. It looks like he's having fun with his teammates. How about the Lakers? So they lost yesterday, 121-114. Was that just a blip in what will turn out to be a great season for them? How did they look to you in their first game?
Yeah, Andre, that was a team that didn't look like it was having a whole lot of fun last night. I'm a believer that we shouldn't really judge this team's playoff potential until at least late November, since this roster has effectively been completely overhauled, perhaps more so than any other in the league. We've got at least 10 new players on the roster by my count. So it's going to take some time to get a feel for one another, to establish a rhythm. But last night we saw them flatline in the second half, which is concerning. They got outscored in both quarters. And that's really concerning for a team that's got, I believe, 5 players on the roster who are in their 16th season or later. We would expect the legs to go out for them later in the game, later in the season. So it's going to be difficult moving forward, but they do have that championship pedigree, and they have the trump card of all trump cards, which is LeBron James.
Well, Russell Westbrook did make his much-awaited Laker debut yesterday officially. And, well, he scored 8 points, grabbed 5 boards, dished out 4 assists. Not the usual Westbrook numbers here. He did shoot poorly here, 4 of 13, 30% from the field, all in the 35 minutes. He also had 4 turnovers here. How would you assess or grade his performance in his first game for the Purple and Gold? He was so stoked to come back, to go to L.A., and it is his home, and play there for the Lakers.
Yeah, I would say it went about as well as his pregame outfit did, Andre, which is to say it was for some and perhaps not so much for others. He got crushed on American television throughout the day because of the poor performance. LeBron and Anthony Davis reportedly consoled him after the game, telling him it was just an off night. He really didn't look interested in participating when he didn't have the ball, which is going to be a real problem, right? Because LeBron is going to dominate the ball for the most part, and he's kind of got to find his role, right? He's got to attack the basket. He's got to set screens, and his shooting has been suspect for a while, but last night his energy was, and I can't remember ever feeling that way about a game of his before.
Well, what role do you see now, moving forward? How will they seem to be on the same page, and what role do you see Westbrook will be in? Of course, LeBron is still the top dog there, the Lakers, but how do you see this thing working out?
I really think that he'd be great off the bench. I know that would never happen, and he would never agree to it, but he would just jumpstart a second unit in ways that are immeasurable, right? LeBron's going to need the ball in his hands a lot. And frankly, Westbrook is not great off the ball. So if he's not in a situation where he can't dominate the basketball, it's tough to know what exactly he's bringing to the table if he plays the way he did last night. Now, he could completely flip a switch and play like a Russell Westbrook we haven't seen before, but we've seen how it played out in Oklahoma City. We've seen how it played out in Houston. We've seen how it played out in Washington. And unfortunately, I think he's going to have to learn a new role if he's going to stay relevant with the Lakers.
That makes sense. Well, of course, Josh, neither the Warriors nor the Lakers topped the West last season, and that distinction goes to the Phoenix Suns. And I remember after the finals, man, that you said it may be unlikely for the Suns to do it again this year because of how stacked the West is, and rightfully so. What will it take now for Phoenix to have another incredible run, maybe, hopefully, go back to the finals, and who knows, poke an eye and win a title this year, surprise everybody?
Staying healthy mostly is first and foremost of concern, and having a couple breaks along the way wouldn't hurt rather. With Chris Paul, health is always the primary concern in the postseason, and he's of course critical to their title chances. I think Devin Booker is one of the 20 best players in the league right now. So it really falls on players like DeAndre Ayton, like Mikal Bridges, to take that next step as starters and swing players that can decide playoff series. And frankly, I think it's within them to do that. It's just such a competitive conference that it remains to be seen if they're going to be able to replicate the success of last season.
Well, they added some good pieces here. JaVale McGee, Alfred Payton, Landry Shamet. So let's see how the Suns will fare. Well, Josh, stay where you are. Josh Planos will still be with us after this really quick break. You're watching Sports Desk only here on CNN Philippines, where we go all out for the day's top sports stories. Stay tuned. We're still joined by sports writer Josh Planos all the way from Nebraska in the U.S. Josh, before we put you to work, let's put you in the hot seat again as we find out the answer to our quiz question of the day. I saw that reaction, Josh. The question I asked earlier was, the NBA is celebrating its 75th anniversary this season. Which teams played in the first ever NBA game way back in 1946? Josh Planos, go.
New York Knicks and somebody else. Boston Celtics?
Well, you got one correct. The answers are the New York Knicks, the Knickerbockers, and Huskies, Toronto Huskies. The Knicks beat the Huskies there 68-66 in the first ever NBA game on November 1st, 1946. Did you miss that? Those questions where I put you to work?
I sure did.
I got to send you some prize over, man. We owe you a lot already. Josh, let's shift our focus now to the Eastern Conference. Yesterday, we saw the defending champs, the Milwaukee Bucks, just beating the Brooklyn Nets here badly. And ironically, though, the favorite between those two heading into this season had been the Nets. Although odds makers were probably looking at a Brooklyn team where, it's like a perfect world. Kyrie Irving is there. But we'll talk more about Kyrie and that whole saga later on. But for now, though, do you think people are once again underestimating Giannis and the Bucks, even after they won it? They just were champs. They had ring night yesterday. They just, won the championship a few months ago, and here they are being not even in the conversation to win it all again.
Without a doubt, Andre, this is pretty typical for small markets in the U.S. They just get overlooked by national pundits who favor larger cities, bigger franchises. There are still some people out there who think this team lucked its way to a championship, which of course was not the case. But furthermore, they returned just about everyone from that title team, with the exception of PJ Tucker and Bryn Forbes, both of whom are more replaceable, say, than starters. But they still have Middleton, they still have Giannis in town, and Milwaukee is still the team to beat until proven otherwise in my book.
Of course, a Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, basically picking up where he left off in the NBA Finals. He's just a beast, man. At 32 points, grabbing 14 rebounds, and dished out 7 assists, all in just 31 minutes of play against the Nets. Let's talk Greek freak here. The importance of Giannis in Milwaukee's title defense. And did you see him even getting better from what you saw last season when they won the chip?
Without a doubt. He was sensational. Again, last night he proved how dominant he can be when he hits his free throws. Last night he was 7 of 9. He hit that walk-in three-pointer at one point. Giannis has all of the tools now, and that's a really scary thought for opposing defenses everywhere. They'll no doubt need to stay healthy for Milwaukee to repeat, but Giannis has been borderline indestructible for years now, so I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, and you know what I love about this guy, too? He gives it 110% every single game. He just is on beast mode every day, full speed. And the Nets, of course, like I mentioned earlier, Josh, here we go. Missing the services of Uncle Drew, Kyrie Irving. The team had said that Kyrie won't play with the team amid issues on his vaccination status. Let's talk about, how huge this will be, how it's affecting the Nets, because it seems like, they really felt it, at least, against the Bucks. And KD, there was one tweet, I think, that he liked and agreed where it was said they can't win it all without Kyrie.
It's devastating and confusing, to say the least, Andre. This is a guy in search of a cause to protest, and I'm left wondering what he's really protesting at all, honestly. The Nets, of course, cannot replace him, and now his trade value has plummeted because teams don't know when or if he'll be available. So all Brooklyn is left with are questions about his availability and commitment to the team and really to the sport. Luckily, of course, they do have James Harden and Kevin Durant, which is a great consolation prize. But Kyrie is a special talent. That's why we're talking about him. And they'll certainly miss him sorely until he gets back.
You didn't mention those two, KD and James Harden and their lineup. Will they be enough, though, to, give Brooklyn that title chase? Will their odds change? And is that enough with Harden, Durant, and, the pieces that they have without Kyrie? How far do you see them going, assuming Kyrie won't play or as much games?
Assuming complete health, I think those two players are enough to topple any team, frankly. I know they'll need to stay healthy, of course, but also this team last year played with about 1.5 of its 3 superstars, and came about as close as you can to eliminating Milwaukee, the eventual champions, from the playoffs. So they'll have another year of experience playing together. They've got some new players added to the puzzle, and I think they should be lethal come playoff time. But of course, they would much rather have Kyrie Irving back in the fold than not.
Well, they did add some good pieces as well. Of course, you got an instant bucket off the bench. Patty Mills with 21 points yesterday. They also added Paul Millsap. Aldridge is back there. And speaking now of embattled players, we're done with the Kyrie topic. Let's go to this. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but let's do. Ben Simmons and this seemingly never-ending saga with him and the Philadelphia 76ers organization. Just recently, Ben Simmons was suspended because of conduct detrimental to the team. Reports surfacing of Simmons refusing to participate in drills, and Doc Rivers eventually kicking Simmons out of practice. Talk about how this could affect Philadelphia's chances at a championship. And we just saw this post on social media as well. The Sixers didn't even include Ben there.
Yeah, this is the tragic comedy that NBA basketball thrives on, Andre. Frankly, I'm curious what the Philippines thinks about these Americans who have $147 million in contracts waiting for them, and they refuse to check into practices. Because I know, for me, someone who lives in the U.S., I was mortified that was even a storyline or that could even possibly happen. A terrible look for Philly, because they're obviously a much better team with him on the court, and him pouting further hurts his trade value. So he's not helping himself get out of town any quicker by throwing a fit and refusing to enter practice. But I'll be watching to see how it plays out, just like everyone else. But for now, it's the Joel Embiid show until further notice.
Well, obviously, Simmons does want out of Philly, but come on, man. You're getting paid over $100 million. Just play and shoot and just improve your game. Well, Josh, as always, thank you for joining us today, and we'll be having you for the rest of the season. Thank you, man. Stay safe over there in Nebraska.
Thank you, Andre.
Again, we just had sports writer Josh Planos joining us all the way from Nebraska, talking to us about the NBA.